Hey guys, welcome back. And this is a video I was hoping I wouldn't have to make. Man, I was really hoping I wouldn't have to make this video ever. So, I recently bought this spb187J1 on eBay, and I bought it at what I thought was a good deal, but not a red flag kind of deal. And I saw other similar models going for a similar price, so I thought that's pretty reasonable. And when it showed up, this is the box it came in. And I was kind of like, I don't know, that seems a little weird. And then open it up, and in here there is this paperwork right here. I thought, that seems off, but I don't know. I haven't bought really too many Seikos in this price range before. And this box looked pretty good. Everything felt fine. So I opened it up, and when I opened it up, originally it was wrapped like a Chinese homage watch, to be perfectly honest. That's what threw me off. I've kept all the packaging. So the cushion seems a little off too, right? This is like overstuffed, or I don't know, and it's open. I'm getting those little fibers everywhere. But the watch itself, the bracelet was wrapped all the way around with kind of a sticky shrink wrap type film, and it had these little white stickers on there to separate the layers so you could peel it off. And the dial, or the head of the watch, was wrapped all the way around with one, maybe I didn't hang on to that, but it was one solid piece of this similar kind of sticky shrink wrap type stuff. And it was exactly like the Chinese homage watches and things like that I've gotten from AliExpress and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I thought, that doesn't feel right. And so I posted about it in the Seiko Facebook group. And maybe you've even seen that post if you're watching this video. And it was split basically perfectly down the middle. 50% of people said it's absolutely fake, and the other 50% said, no doubt, it's 100% authentic, and I know that for sure. And so I still wasn't sure, and I have an expensive watch, and again, I paid $700 for it. It's not a crazy price, but it's not cheap. And so I started to look into it, and what I saw just made me more and more nervous, and made me more and more unsure. Put all that stuff back in there. So first of all, the watch itself is gorgeous. The dial is beautiful. The finishing is fantastic. I mean, this thing looks great, and it feels good too. The clasp is nice. Everything feels right. The bezel, see if you can hear that. It's really muted and it's soft, but it feels good, and it lines up. Maybe that should have been my first indicator. See if I can get that to line back up. And but other than that, like I said, everything, it looked legit, and it was the packaging that originally threw me off. And I had several people tell me, "Hey, no, that packaging is legit. Sometimes they come that way. It's an Asian market watch, and so that's why it was packed that way." And I was like, "Okay, well maybe," but I still just couldn't trust it. And again, I looked online everywhere, and I didn't see much about this model being faked, but I did see a couple of posts, or a couple of different ones being sold on eBay, different sellers, and they had comments that somebody had purchased one of these and it was fake. Now I messaged my seller, and he said, "Nope, no, undoubtedly it's real. I got it from a legitimate place, and I trust him very much," and yada yada. I said, "Okay, sure, but I'm gonna look into it further." And so, everyone said, okay, the loom pip. And that loom pip does seem kind of off to me. Like, it doesn't seem right. And then when it is loomed, that pip is like almost non-existent. You can barely see it. It lights up for like 30 seconds, if that, and then it fades to almost nothing. The loom on the dial is good, and that seemed to be on par with all my other Seikos. I was comparing it to my SPB175, and that all seemed to line up. Then somebody online said, well, the crown isn't right. And this crown's got kind of a coarse grip, and these come with a much more fine um, knurling on the crown. And that is true. I looked, and this crown seems to be a little bit different, but I thought, well, I don't know, that maybe they changed it. Maybe this particular model or whatever, this, from this factory on this date, they used that crown. I don't know. Then somebody had pointed out that on the dial, there's typically a little date number. So there's an indicator down here by the 5 o'clock that indicates the date of manufacture for the dial. And this one does not have that. So, but that wasn't definitive enough for me. So what I did was, this is supposed to have a 6R35 movement, and so does my spb187. And so I just wound them up. Initially, when I Googled, it said, okay, 50 winds should get this full power. Wound it up 50 times, let it sit. Both of these 50 times, let them sit in the box and run all the way out. This one died at 45 hours. So I thought, okay, well, I commented that in the Facebook group, and some people said, well, maybe that wasn't fully wound. You could always wind it more. So then I wound it 75 times. I thought, surely that will be full. And same thing, put it in the box, did the same thing with this, set the time and date to the same thing. This one died right around 44 hours, somewhere in there. And I thought, oh, I'm still don't feel like that's definitive enough to send it back, because I really like this. It's beautiful. I love it. And so I wound it 140 times, both of these, right? That should have been over full. Now you can't overwind these. And so I let it sit, and guess what? It died at 45 hours, right around there. And so that to me is definitive proof that this is not authentic. Now I'm sending it back. In fact, it's after I make this video, I'm packaging it up, sending it back to the seller for a refund. I'm not going to mention the seller here, because I don't know for sure that he is knowingly selling fakes. If I knew that for sure, then I would mention him, but I just don't know that for sure. Now, what I will say is that once I get the refund, I'll be going to Arizona Fine Time, and I'm dealing with John, and he is going to get me a SPB 383 instead. And so I will recommend Arizona Fine Time. They're fantastic. I've worked with them before, and they're great. So let's talk about a few things. First of all, like I said, everything looks the part, and it feels the part. I mean, this feels like a fantastic watch. The clasp looks good. Everything seems to line up. Even the way that the bracelet, the pin and collar system works, because these work a little bit differently. It doesn't have one big center collar. It's got a short collar that sits off to one side, and it's held in place by the inside of the tube on this side and this whatever. It's kind of weird, but that even seemed to line up. Then let me see if I can get my tool here. When I open this up, or when I removed the bracelet, the pins look good. I mean, look at this. Looks like it may even be a Seiko pin. That looks totally legit. Looks the part. Spring bar, excuse me. But inside of the lugs are pretty rough, to be perfectly honest. Case looks good though. Everything still kind of hard to tell, and that's not so rough that it's alarming. Now, then what I did is I opened the watch up, and I looked at the movement, and it's got I'll put up pictures here, but it's got the rotor says 6R35, and it looks the part, and it's really hard to tell between, say, an NH35 and a 6R35. So ultimately, it was that power reserve test that really sealed the deal and led me to believe this is not an authentic watch, and it's got to go back for refund. So I wanted to make this video so that as you guys watch me struggle, there we go, just to make people aware of the the fakes that are out there and what to look out for. And so the other thing was the printing on the dial here. Spin those hands out of the way. Let me just get them all the way down to the 630. Zoom in there. So the printing on the dial wasn't quite right as well, although you can tell it's very close, very convincing. And then that red on the second hand, that is a little bit off. It's a little bit brighter red in the fakes, and the proportions aren't quite right. It's really hard to tell, but it is there. Now you can see right down there by the 5 on the real ones, there's usually some other sort of printing down there, but it's very, very close. So honestly, it was. I think a lot of people can and will be fooled. I saw the spb187, which is this, the spb299, which was the Save the Ocean glacier dial. The same seller that had this had one of those at the same price, and I'm positive that they're not authentic. And so just be careful out there, especially with this MM200. I didn't think that there were clones, but there are. So be very wary. Anyways, thanks for joining me, guys, and hope you found this useful.